Welcome to Mind Shield. We protect the mind and pursue the truth. Let's get started.
So what do you do? What do you do when something is happening to you, but you feel like no one will believe you? Today, we're going to walk through a framework designed to make your experience undeniable. This is Mind Shield, the evidence standard. And this right here is the core idea. Evidence isn't about being cold or distant. It's about translating your personal suffering into a language that other people, investigators, doctors, even the legal system, can actually understand and act on. It's how you make your reality clear and, ultimately, impossible to ignore. I want you to picture this. Let's call him Marcus. He's at his desk and he feels completely alone, exhausted, and just unheard. He's just been through something incredibly disturbing again, and that feeling of helplessness is just crushing. He just wants to scream. And that's such a raw human feeling, right? That frustration of being trapped and feeling like you have no way to fight back. It's a feeling a lot of people in this situation know way too well. But then, this happens. This is the moment where everything begins to shift. Instead of giving in to that chaos, he chooses structure. That right there, that's the pivot from being a victim to becoming the lead investigator of his own case. And look at what he's writing. He's not jotting down wild theories. He's recording facts, the date, the time, the location, what devices were on, who else was around that might have seen something. This isn't just a journal entry, you see. This is the very first step in taking control and imposing order on chaos. It's his first move. And that simple act of writing things down is so critical because Marcus seems to instinctively get a very hard truth. In situations like these, just telling your story, your word alone, often isn't enough. Now, what I love about this is how it frames the situation. It's a strategic battle. See, if there is a perpetrator, their goal is to create chaos, to make you seem unreliable. Your countermove? Discipline. Every meticulous note you take, every file you save, it builds your credibility and systematically tears their strategy apart. And let's be really clear about this because it's the harsh reality. Your experience is 100% valid. It is true. But to an outside world that can't see or feel what you're going through, testimony alone can be dismissed. It can be labeled as subjective or even worse. So objective proof, that's the bridge you have to build. So, okay, how do you build that bridge? Well, you climb. We call this the evidence ladder. It's a clear, step-by-step process for turning your personal experience into a rock-solid case.
We're going to start at the very bottom with what you're actually experiencing. And then we're going to climb, step by step, through documentation, finding support, analyzing patterns, all the way to the top. And the top is actionable proof. So let's break down each one of these rungs.
All right, rung 1, that's your reality. The sensations, the events you've witnessed, the feelings you've had, this is the foundation of everything. It's true, it's real, and it is always the starting point for any real investigation. Rung 2 is where you start to build on that foundation. This is Marcus opening his notebook, writing things down as they happen, or right after. That is so critical. It transforms a fragile memory, which can fade or get distorted, into a hard, time-stamped record. Okay, now for rung 3, corroboration. And this is where your case starts to get really powerful. Corroboration is the objective outside data that backs up your personal log. It's the proof that says, hey, this didn't just happen inside my head. Here's where it touched the real world. And the possibilities here are huge. We're talking about things like screenshots with all the metadata still intact, router logs that show strange network activity, a simple police report number, even an invoice from a mechanic who found a GPS tracker you didn't put on your car. Each one of these is another brick in your wall of evidence. Moving up to rung 4. This is where you switch gears from being just a collector to being an analyst. Think about it. A single weird event, that can be dismissed as a coincidence. But a pattern of weird events happening over and over, that is much, much harder to ignore. That's the signal that investigators are trained to look for. And just look at how this can work. At first, maybe the incidents feel totally disconnected. But when you log them with discipline, a story starts to emerge. The symptoms are tied to specific locations. Then you realize those locations are tied to the presence of a certain vehicle, and maybe that vehicle is tied to a measurable signal spike. See? This is no longer just random noise, it's a clear signal. At rung 5, you bring in the pros. You take all this data you've carefully collected and you hand it to a cybersecurity analyst or an RF engineer or a lawyer. They can validate what you found, interpret the data in a professional context, and give your case the expert weight it really needs to be taken seriously. And that brings us to the top of the ladder, rung 6. This is when your lived experience, backed up by your notes, your corroboration, the patterns, and an expert review, it all becomes something that is simply undeniable. It's proof. Proof you can take to law enforcement, into a courtroom, or to a journalist. This is the end goal. But climbing that ladder, it requires a very specific mindset. It's not just about what evidence you collect, it's about how you conduct yourself throughout the entire process. This is what we call the investigator's discipline. This right here, this is your mantra. Your job is to be a meticulous collector of facts, not a storyteller spinning theories. You gather the data first, you look for patterns second, and only if the evidence is truly overwhelming should you even think about pointing a finger. Okay, listen up, because this part is absolutely non-negotiable. Your safety and your credibility are your two most important assets. Any of the actions you see on screen will destroy both. It could get you hurt, and it will absolutely get your case thrown out. Do not cross these lines, ever. Remember what the objective is here. It's to build a case that cannot be picked apart, and you do that through lawful, disciplined preservation of evidence. A calm, clean, well-documented record is infinitely more powerful than a loud, emotional claim with nothing to back it up. Okay, so we've covered the framework, we've covered the mindset. Now, let's turn all this theory into real-world action. Here is your immediate first step. It's time to armor up. This is your starting point, and you can do it today. Create one secure digital folder for everything. Make backups, put one in the cloud, and keep one offline, like on a separate hard drive. And that last point there, the chain of custody note, it's vital. It's just a simple text file where you write down how and when you collected each piece of evidence. This shows you've handled everything professionally from day one. So start today. Start collecting every log entry, every screenshot, every report number. Start collecting your receipts. Because in this fight, receipts are armor.